Wang Yibo is often described as one of the most free male stars in Cbiz. He races motorcycles, dances without restraint, moves between music, film, television, and fashion with ease. From the outside, his career looks like pure momentum. Youth, talent, traffic, and commercial power converging into a rare kind of dominance. But freedom in Cbiz is rarely what it seems. Behind Wang Yibo's versatility is a schedule so dense it leaves no gaps for hesitation. Behind his silence is an image so valuable it cannot afford unpredictability. He is visible everywhere, yet personally invisible. Present in every arena, yet absent from personal narrative. This contradiction is not accidental. It is structural. Wang Yibo did not rise by rebellion or chaos. He rose by precision. Each step of his expansion was approved by results. High ratings, strong fan conversion, unmatched brand value. Over time, this made him indispensable to the system. And when a star becomes indispensable, choice begins to disappear. Unlike artists who are restricted through silence or punishment, Wang Yibo faces a different reality. He is allowed to do almost everything, but only as long as nothing slows down. He cannot stop. He cannot drift. He cannot question the pace without threatening the machinery built around him. This is the quiet tension at the center of his career. Wang Yibo appears free because he is everywhere. Yet the question remains unasked. When a system demands constant output, is movement still freedom, or is it just another form of control? To understand how Wang Yibo reached this position, we must look beyond surface versatility and examine how expansion itself became a cage. Before Wang Yibo became a symbol of multi-field dominance in Cbiz, his position in the industry was already being shaped by one defining trait: adaptability. He entered the public eye through performance and movement, not through narrative acting alone. Dance, music, stage presence, and discipline formed his early identity. From the beginning, he was valued less for expression and more for execution. As he transitioned into acting, this adaptability turned into a strategic advantage. Wang Yibo was not framed as emotionally volatile or unpredictable. Instead, he was positioned as efficient, quiet, and reliable. He delivered results without demanding attention beyond the work itself. This made him ideal for an industry that prioritizes output over introspection. His image evolved into something highly functional, youthful, skilled, and emotionally contained. Brands saw endurance. Productions saw stability. Management saw scalability. Wang Yibo could move between domains without disrupting expectations. Over time, this flexibility became his defining capital. At the same time, his public persona grew increasingly minimal. He did not shape his own narrative. Interviews remained guarded. Personal interpretation was left open but never clarified. This absence of self-exposition was not a lack of personality. It was a form of alignment. By revealing less, he reduced friction. By staying silent, he accelerated acceptance. Before reaching his peak, Wang Yibo had already been absorbed into a system that rewards continuous motion. Success was measured not by depth, but by range. Expansion was celebrated, but only as long as it remained smooth. What appeared to be freedom was already governed by efficiency. This background explains why, later on, slowing down would never be an option. Wang Yibo was built not as an artist allowed to pause, but as a mechanism designed to run. The turning point in Wang Yibo's career did not arrive as a scandal or a public breakdown. It arrived as acceleration. His schedule began to compress, then overlap, then overflow. Acting projects, competition programs, brand campaigns, magazine covers, public events. Each success triggered the next commitment before the previous one had time to settle. What looked like momentum was, in reality, conversion. Wang Yibo's versatility was transformed into obligation. The industry recognized that he could sustain intensity without resistance, and so intensity became the baseline. There was no single incident that forced this shift. The trigger was cumulative. Each completed task proved that more could be added. At this stage, control changed form. There was no need for restriction, or silence. Output itself became the constraint. Saying no would disrupt schedules tied to enormous capital chains. Slowing down would ripple across productions, brands, and visibility metrics. Wang Yibo did not need to be instructed to comply. The structure surrounding him made alternatives impractical. Public perception reinforced this cycle. Fans celebrated omnipresence as success. Media framed exhaustion as dedication. The narrative rewarded endurance rather than reflection. The more he appeared, the more indispensable he became. And the more indispensable he became, the less negotiable his pace was. This was the true trigger point. Wang Yibo crossed from being a star who could choose to a star who had to sustain. Movement stopped being exploration and became maintenance. The crisis was not collapse. It was permanence. From this moment on, Wang Yibo's challenge would no longer be visibility or opportunity. It would be the absence of space to step outside the role that continuous success demanded of him. As Wang Yibo's career expanded across every major field, the conflict at its center became increasingly quiet but impossible to ignore. He was no longer fighting for space. Space was consuming him. Each opportunity came prepackaged with expectations of endurance, neutrality, and uninterrupted availability. His public image began to function like a guarantee. Reliable under pressure, consistent across formats, emotionally restrained. This made him indispensable, but it also made him replaceable only in theory. In practice, the system could not afford for him to hesitate. Every delay would echo across production schedules, brand campaigns, and commercial timelines. Wang Yibo's silence, once a strategic advantage, evolved into a requirement. There was no room for personal narrative to interrupt performance. Interviews avoided introspection. Public statements remained functional. The more he delivered without friction, the less tolerance existed for deviation. The conflict was not between Wang Yibo and the industry. It was between pace and personhood. He could continue moving, or he could disappear from momentum. There was no middle space where reassessment felt allowed. Slowing down would not be read as growth. It would be read as risk. What made this tension especially difficult was its invisibility. From the outside, Wang Yibo appeared to thrive. He crossed fields with ease and received constant affirmation. Inside the structure, however, his career operated like a system that could not be powered down. This is the contradiction that defines his position. He possessed more opportunities than almost any of his peers, yet fewer exits. Freedom existed only as long as it did not interrupt flow. The conflict was not crisis-driven. It was maintenance-driven. And maintenance, once normalized, becomes permanent pressure. The peak of Wang Yibo's career did not arrive with a single defining moment. It arrived as saturation. He reached a level of presence so complete that there was nowhere left to expand without repetition. Films, television, music, racing, fashion. The fields multiplied, but the margin for error vanished. At this stage, success stopped feeling directional. It became circular. Each achievement reaffirmed his value, but also locked him deeper into the machinery that depended on uninterrupted output. There was no collapse to dramatize, no rebellion to sensationalize. The climax unfolded as realization. Wang Yibo had become a symbol of controlled excellence. Everything worked, and because everything worked, nothing could change. Risk was removed not through prohibition but through optimization. Every appearance was calculated. Every move aligned with reliability. The system no longer demanded innovation. It demanded stability. This is where the cost revealed itself. Growth requires friction. Art requires uncertainty. But at the apex of Wang Yibo's success, uncertainty became unacceptable. He was no longer allowed to fail because failure would disrupt too many calibrated systems. The climax of his story is quiet but decisive. Success reached a point where it could no longer transform. His career did not close. It sealed. The question shifted from how far he could go to how long he could sustain this level without losing the self behind the output. Wang Yibo's career does not end in tragedy, nor in liberation. Continues, and that continuation is the point. In Cbiz, endurance is often mistaken for freedom. If a star remains visible, productive, and commercially valuable, the system considers the outcome successful. But Wang Yibo's trajectory reveals a deeper truth. Control does not always arrive through restriction. Sometimes it arrives through constant permission. By allowing him to do everything, the industry quietly removed his ability to choose when to stop. Movement replaced reflection. Momentum replaced autonomy. His story is not unique, but it is illustrative. Many male stars in Cbiz are not punished for breaking rules. They are optimized until deviation becomes impossible. The system does not fear rebellion as much as it fears unpredictability. Stability is the highest currency, even when it comes at the cost of inner space. For audiences, this raises an uncomfortable question. When success leaves no room for pause, is it still success, or simply survival performed at a higher level? Wang Yibo stands at the center of this contradiction. Admired for his discipline, envied for his reach, yet quietly bound by the very versatility that made him indispensable. In the end, Wang Yibo's story is not about whether he will break free. It is about whether Cbiz is capable of allowing freedom to exist without collapse. Until that answer changes, success will continue to look impressive from the outside and restrictive from within.